It's Mike with Innovation REI. Hope everybody's doing good. I'm excited. Brantley's sticking around. He's shooting a second video with us, and it's going to be about one of our favorite types of real estate deals. We're going to be talking about owner financing. Brantley has tons of experience again in this field, so I'm excited to hear what he has to say. But just in layman's terms, for everybody out here who might not be familiar, what exactly is an owner financing type deal?
Mike, so owner financing, very simple. It's when the seller takes a note back or actually finances the deal themselves to you.
So it eliminates the need for a bank or anything like that. It's just going straight through the seller.
No bank needed. That's exactly right. It's when the seller finances their property to you.
So owner financing deals, we've established as one of our favorites, one of the best type of structuring you can do for a deal.
That's right.
So for somebody who might be looking to find a property where a seller will be motivated to do owner financing, what is something that you're looking for in your seller where they're going to be able to do that type of deal?
Mike, the best scenario for somebody to owner finance or seller finance to you is they really need to own the property free and clear, for the most part.
So they have to have basically no liens on the property, can't have an outstanding loan on it, anything like that, correct?
Right. For the best scenario, you definitely want to have it free and clear. There are some other ways of doing things if there is notes, but for the best owner finance, smooth, buttery transaction, you want to have somebody that's free and clear. Usually that's somebody that has owned the property for a long time, has inherited the property, someone that paid it off quickly, paid cash for their property. You tend to find that people are older in age that own these properties. So I'd say you want to look at people that are 50 years old and above.
Okay, and what's their big motivation? Is it just like a house? Basically, they haven't kept the property up and they don't have access to funds to do so? Or, when it comes to their personal motivations for actually doing that type of deal, what have you found in your experience that a lot of times that is?
Well, there's several different factors that will cause somebody or somebody that will want to finance to you. First thing that pops in my head is a landlord. Landlords, they become a landlord because they like cash flow. So they still may want that monthly cash flow, but they're tired of the headaches. They're tired of the tenants dealing with the actual property. So they like cash flow. They don't like headaches. And we can create a win-win with that in seller financing.
Yeah, that's actually the main one I was thinking of as well. So I'm glad you said that. So while the cons are very few, obviously, what would you say are maybe a couple of cons or things that are maybe a little less than ideal as far as a seller finance deal?
Mike, just a couple of things that come to mind because there's very, very few cons. When you purchase property by the seller financing it to you, you're now having a monthly payment, a quarterly payment, or a yearly payment, however you set up the terms that you've got to make sure you pay every month. On a cash deal, you pay cash, it's done and over with, it's yours. With the seller financing, you have that monthly payment that you have to keep up with. So again, documentation, making sure you're staying on top of things. The other thing that pops up in my mind is when you go and speak to somebody about seller financing, that's not a normal transaction.
Yep.
Seller financing is something that happens every day. It's usually cash or finance deals, not seller financing. So you better have a ton of benefits in your basket that you can bring out to the seller to say, hey, this is why you should seller finance to me.
As opposed to just listing with a realtor and trying to obtain some type of traditional sell.
That's exactly right. You have to overcome those normal day-to-day transactions and make your seller finance transaction look way better than the average.
Yeah, and for Brantley and myself, we've done a lot of negotiating. I don't ever like toot my own horn, but I would say I'm an expert in negotiations. I would say the same about you. So that's something we do confidently with seller financing, but just be prepared. Just like Brantley said, it's not the normal day-to-day conversation you're having with somebody. So, that's the one thing, keep in mind, you are gonna have to learn a little bit of negotiating. You're gonna have to be able to discuss the pros and cons with the seller and with yourself and why you're structuring the deal as such. But with that said, it's worth practicing and getting good at that negotiating, just because this is such a great way to structure the purchase of a real estate property.
That's exactly right, Mike. You hit it right on the head.
Okay, so we discussed cons, which I almost hate to even call them cons with owner financing, but I just want everybody to be aware of things to look out for. But let's talk about the pros, because there's a lot, and there's some fantastic things we can do with this type of deal structured this way. In your mind, what are some of the biggest pros to seeking out and executing a seller finance type deal?
It's crazy you asking that question, Mike, because when I think of it, I get overwhelmed with all the abilities you can do by taking a seller financing deal. First thing that pops up in my mind is you don't have to have capital to do a seller financing deal. I've done many deals where I've put $0 down in owner finance. Also, I control the terms. When you go to a bank, Mike, and you get a loan, they tell you what to pay.
Yep, that's right.
But when you create a seller finance deal, you work with the seller. You create the terms at sometimes small interest payments, sometimes no interest at all. I've done a ton of deals where it was 100% principal. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to create, and you get to mold that deal to what is a benefit for you and your seller.
So just really the biggest pro, even if this was the only pro, it's just that the creative financing type aspect of it. The fact that you can be very flexible with the terms and how you structure the deal to make that work. So what are some different examples of how somebody might structure the term of a seller finance contract?
So one thing that I teach and I like to share is options. We always want to give options. So when I go to a seller, I say, okay, I'll give you a cash offer, and I'll give you 3 owner finance options. I'll give you a cash offer, and I'll give you 3 owner finance options. So they'll be in increments of 10, 5, and $0 down. As the amount goes down, the monthly payment will go up. So you want to see what's a benefit to them. Again, that's you giving those offers, controlling how much you pay monthly, how much you can pay down. One thing that I love about this is that, Mike, if I have $100,000, instead of just going to buy one house, if I work my deals right, I could buy 4, 5, even 6 homes by using seller financing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to speak to your point about how you structure the deal, just remember that, guys. You can structure it however you want. You can, the interest rates that you use, it can be based off what you want to put down on the property or what you're using the property for, whether it's a flip or a long-term hold. But again, you guys just have to keep in your mind what's going to work for your deal. You have to think outside the box. And I also want to add this, for any people that are looking to invest, or maybe on the fence, or they don't have the credit, or they're having trouble with traditional financing, guys, this is probably the best way you can try to get into the game and make something happen. Find some type of seller finance deal. You're going to be able to get in there with 0 risk. Not with 0 risk, but with limited risk.
That's it, Mike. I agree, there's risk in everything, and this is a great tool to be able to use if you're just getting started or if you've been in the game 20 years. I've been in investments for a long time. My first go-to is seller finance. It just makes sense.
Yep. You're going to expand fewer funds out of pocket. You're not going to have to worry about having liquid resources available. Also, you're not going to have to deal with the time frame it takes to deal with lenders or whatever the case might be for every single project.
That's exactly right. I mean, you can close on a seller finance deal in 2 or 3 days. You're in control. I cannot say anything else other than you are in control of the situation.
Yep. And anytime that's the case, it's going to be a plus for everybody. So those are the pros of the deal. Definitely go out, look for these seller financing options, and utilize them any opportunity you get to do so. Again, I want to thank my good buddy Brantley for coming in, sharing some knowledge with us. Brantley, let the people know how they can contact you.
Mike, thanks for having me again. You can reach me by phone, email, Facebook. We're Eldridge and Franklin Investments. We're out of Raleigh, North Carolina. You can reach me at Brantley at eldridgeandfranklin.com. Cell phone number 919-262-6828. Or you can reach us on the web at www.nchomerelief.com. Don't be scared to reach out. We love to help people no matter what the situation is.
And I figured the least I could do with you dealing with early Raleigh traffic this morning to get up here, brought you one of our Flip Happen shirts. I assume, what do you wear, a double X Manly?
That'll work, man.
All right,
I'll wear
man.
that.
We got the Flip Happen shirt.
Okay.
Make sure you wear it out and about. It's the way it works. And again, thank you, brother. I really do appreciate you, man. You guys, if you have any questions for myself or Brantley, make sure you leave some comments, send us some messages, reach out to Brantley directly, myself directly. We're happy to answer everything we can. Go out, do great things.
To much success.
We'll talk to you guys next time.